checking for something, and then I'll call people in. Send items. Okay, good evening all. Welcome to the BATC QO100 Net. I did notice while looking through some images earlier that we've been doing this for a year, which is marvellous. I think it's really useful to get together each week and work out what we've all been doing. So thank you all for participating. What's been going on? CQTV should have hit your doormats. Mine took a while, but arrived on Tuesday. Really good work from Frank and the team there. I've been working on prep for the IARU contest. Remember, that's on June 12th, 13th. And there'll be emails and certificates for last year's going out soon. That's been taking a bit of my time. I'm aware that some users are having Portsdown issues at the moment. I need to get back to the Portsdown project, but I've been doing some software projects for me that will roll into Portsdown, and I'll show those during my over. But and also I've been out portable, but I'll talk about that during my over as well. And Jules, good evening. So the running order for tonight will be Martin G4FKK, Mike G0MJW, Gareth G4XAT, Jim G7NTG, Rob M0DTS, John G7JTT, Noel G8GTZ, and Jules G0NZO. So straight round to Martin from G8GKQ and the BATC Net.
Oh, that's kind of working. Hang on a sec. Bit of a juggling act. I'm usually so late on parade that I have plenty of time to set everything up here. But however, I was on a bit earlier talking to Gareth. So good evening all. And well, I've not got much to report of anything actually done this week, Dave. But I have got a big list of things that need doing, like getting my car through the MOT. I'm still building my workshop. I'm getting a tree stump removed from where the workshop's going to be. That's tomorrow. And after having spoken to Mike and Noel and Justin about GB3HV, I've come to the conclusion it's worth building a 70SEMS aerial for here. So I shall be, I think I've got all the aluminium, so I shall be working on that next year, hopefully. Next week. And thanks to you, Dave and Noel, for teaching me how to put an IP stream through, or an RTMP stream, at least through the GB3HV repeater. That was very exciting. And I didn't even know there was a Tuesday net, or that the mast was made with wood. Noel, that's very impressive. I've done the high-level design plans for my workshop. I don't think my camera does auto. Oh, it does. Maybe it does. So you can see it's very high-tech, my drawing. And my wife has drawn a flower and a cat on the patio outside it. So it must have reached approval stage. Right, so I'll stop droning on about all that rubbish. And, well, congratulations on the 1 year of nets, I'll say that. I don't think I've been on that long. So, round to you, Mike. M0MJ, sorry, I keep doing that, G0MJW. And the BATC Thursday afternoon net, Thursday evening net, G4FKK standing by.
Right, shout if there's no audio or video. So there ain't anything on the bench. I've been busy doing other things this week, work mostly. But nice to see everyone again, and thank you, Martin, for that starting out the net. Your audio was great, by the way. I think Dave was a little bit high, but not distorted, so just a slight difference in level of about maybe 10 dB, something like that. Okay, not a lot to add really, so I'm going to keep this very short this week. I might say something a bit more on the second over, but congratulations for the year. I think that's the main thing, and I think I've got to pass it to G4XAT. So let's pass it over and get on with things. Right, let me just put up the test card again. Hopefully you'll see that.
Sorry about that. I thought I'd crashed, but I haven't. In all, from G4XAT, joining the BATC Thursday evening net. As you can see, I've fixed my amp. Thanks very much to Jim for the spare PA device. I have the dead one here, which is this little thing. It lost its lid, and before you all scream beryllium, it fell off, and I'm not much sure how much you can see of that, but 2/3 of it are comprehensively vaporized, I suppose. Anyway, the hot plate which I made to fix the amp worked like a dream, and it all started with one of these things, which is part of a panini stroke burger grilling machine that I picked up. It had removable plates, which made me think I might be able to use it for something else. And what I did was take the removable plate out and replace it with a piece of 1/4 inch aluminium, and instead of having the element below what was a removable plate, I fitted the element to the back of this bit. And it's got a PID controller with a thermocouple, so it's good to 400 centigrade nominally. You can see what it used to be. The only problem is it's a 110 volt element, and I couldn't see how they'd done the power arrangement, because an element top and bottom, and you could switch the top element off, but there was nothing I could see in the circuit that regulated the power flow. Anyway, I stuck it on, and by the time it got up to about 230 centigrade indicated, the transistor floated free, and I also fished off the circulator, which was also floating free. Nothing else was jogged or moved. Put a bit of fresh solder on the pads and dropped it back into place, and all was well. I did check the small tabs around the edge, the Doherty biases I think, with a bit of extra solder, but they didn't appear to need it. Put it all back together, running it on 28 volts rather than 32/28, and it's got plenty of spare, so there's no need to bother with the 32 in this situation, and it'll probably make it a bit more robust. So rather than waffle on, I'll put it round to G7NTG. Once again, thanks very much for the spare device. So over to you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, just make sure I've got sound. Right, okay, just make sure I've got sound. Oh, I appear to have sound. I'll drop it off then. Right, okay, yes, good to see that, Gareth. That's, I'm glad that worked all right for you. Because you always have, you're never sure when you use a hot plate to remove a transistor, which I did with the one I sent you, whether you've done it right. But it did check out all right with the meter, so I was pretty happy with that. So I'm glad you've got it sorted, and I like your hot plate. That's very nice. And yes, you can definitely see that device has blown, even with it being a bit blurred. So that, I think, is because you'd switched off the HT before you switched off the drive. And I'd say that to anybody. Don't switch off the voltage power supply before you switch off the drive. It destroys devices. It's very, very quick. Yep, what else was I going to say? Yeah, nice CQTV, that was good. And yeah, Dave, you were saying too many software things. I've got too much time spent on hardware things, so to worry about the video. But there we go. I've been very busy on making these power meters. I've done 14 of those, and used two different types of, or three different types of diode, and they're all different. They're all completely different. So, and they're all supposedly BAT 62s. So I've had a lot of fun with that, working out ways of wiring it to try and linearise it a bit, or I can sort of make the scale logarithmic or linear depending on how the customer wants it, what he wants to measure. So that's been really interesting. But the difference is even between two identical meters, the scales haven't been the same. They've been different linearity. So I'm not sure how these commercial ones manage to do it. And I think they print a scale that's sort of roughly right, but some work in one direction and some in another, so I don't think they're very accurate. Anyway, enough waffle, and we're rattling through them tonight, aren't we? So I'm going to put it round to Rob. M0DTS from G7NTG with the net.
Video going to appear? There we go. Right. Yeah, evening everyone. Another week has passed. I don't think I've really done that much, to be honest. not a lot of productive things, but I suppose I've been quite busy. Yeah, I like the hot plate, Gareth. I tend to use, I've got an old iron. I don't know where it's living at the moment. I just put a clamp of vice on the edge of the bench and put the iron upside down, and it goes down on it. Well, you can adjust the temperature, of course, but that's generally what I've been using for quite a while now for a hot plate. Low audio. Oh, okay. I'm probably not just talking up to the microphone enough. What's it sound like? Yeah. It's not too bad here. Comments welcome there. I'll probably give it another few dBs, something like that. That might be a little bit better for you. Yeah, I've been doing a bit more work on the van. I've finally got the brakes sorted out. Really struggled to find the replacement master cylinder where the seals had failed on it, so I couldn't get it bled. But managed to get that sorted. And then today it's got a flat tyre, so I need to get that sorted now. So leaky valve, that's the problem. or the valve seal on the rim. So one problem after another, but we'll get there eventually. We'll get out portable yet this year. What else? Oh, I've been Winter Hill, so let's just change to my desktop here. Is this going to work? No. Ooh. Display capture. There we go. If I go to, so I was looking at a way of putting the HDMI onto the Winter Hill. Not that I'm probably never going to use it that much, but I wanted a way of doing it. So I ordered two different options. One was with the back-to-back adapter, like what's on here, the female panel mounting thing, with another cable that plugs into that. And then I got this one, which I thought, well, I could probably make my own fitting, and this was the cheaper option. So found out on these ones here that if you cut the plastic away, it leaves this little open area here. You can cut that back quite easily with a scalpel. It just zoom that in a little bit and pan around. There we go. Anyway, so yeah, that'll kind of poke through the panel there. So I 3D printed a little adapter which will screw up against the panel. That presses quite a snug fit onto the other bit on there. That ends up like that. It's probably a lot of effort, this, but he's done it the easy way. But it's also more expensive in there to hold that on, and then that screws up against the back panel, and it looks something like that. So it came out quite neat. I was a little bit disappointed on how I'd the measurements of the HDMI socket. I was a little bit out, but anyway, it's running fine in its little box there. So and that's what it is in the inside. So the listing that I bought off, that is a left-handed cable. For reference, if anyone is looking for one, that was listed as a left-handed one. Whether they're all the same, if you buy one left-handed from one place or one from another, I don't know, but that was how it ended up anyway, so it was pretty neat, and it seems to do the job. So there was that. I don't think a lot else really. I've been playing with a bit of Commodore 64 stuff, trying to learn how to use that again. It's been a long time. I got a disk drive, quite cheap off eBay, like a untested one, so that's now living here as well. So that's on there. So yeah, the disk drive came, it was okay. I had to make a power supply for it, but that's good. And of course I've been doing a bit of reading of CQTV. That's about it really. So I'll find something else to bring up for the next one. So let's just have a quick check where we ran to. John. Right. Yep, round to you, John. G7JTT M0DTS. Oh, and that was FFmpeg using the GUI software with OBS today. Right, over to you, John.
Right, good evening all. Trust everybody's well. Let's put this on mute. As everybody's showing off their Winter Hills, I thought I'd show you mine. A box of bits. I still haven't got around to building it. So pretty much everything's there, but I've just been far too busy. I've got plenty of little van come via various different sources. Actually, I think most of these have come via Jim, but so the idea is to use lots of small vans as opposed to one big fan. Possibly keep the noise down a little bit, but cable wise I've gone for this, so I'm going to try and switch over to a different camera, so bear with me. Right, so these are panel mount ones. Is it going to focus? Yeah, just about, but it doesn't have the left hand or right hand, whichever connector. So as I'm using a bigger box, it probably won't make no difference to me, but these were still quite expensive, about £8 or so. Let me just go back to the other one. Move, right, that's it. Right, so yeah, what I'm hoping to do is, the reason I've gone for the bigger box, A, I had it spare, B, I'm going to fit a Jetson Nano in there as well and use that to do the display. So I'm looking at using a screen I've got, which you can't see, it's up there, one that I've recovered from a laptop that I've converted, and the idea is to make it completely fixed, that it's there all the time, if you know what I mean. The other thing is I'm going to do is, and probably where I'll fall down, is that I'm not going to use the power supply as per the board. I've got a 5-volt, I forget the brand of it now, but it's a very well-known brand, power supply, 10 amps. So I'm going to use that to power the Pi and everything else. And what I've done is, I'll put them there. I'm going to, rightly or wrongly, use these AM, I can't even see the things now, these are AM 117s, little tiny things anyway. You can buy little modules online, and they cut, well, pennies basically, £1 or so a piece, something like that. And what I've done is bought some 1.2 volt versions and some 3.3 volt versions. They're good for about, well, about an amp, I suppose, something like that. So there'll be 2 for the 3.3 volts and 1 for the 1.1 volts. Although it's 1.2, the spec does say you can use 1.2, and I think one of my yeah, sorry, I'm different because I've got power issues. I've had to use a lower FEC. But yeah, back to the power supply thing. I actually, my just somewhere over there, other tuner actually uses 1.8 volts because I couldn't quite get the right resistor. So pushing it to 1.2, but we'll see. It may or may not last. If it doesn't, then it's another tuner, I guess. But always trying to do things non-conformally. So anyway, that's life. So other than that, really haven't done much else. It's work as usual. It's taken over my life. I keep getting promised things will slow down, and every time they do, they're going to make announcements like everybody's now entitled to 2 kits per week, regardless of whether you're ill or not. So that's just increased the workload well, much worse than it was already. So we will get back into it one day. So with that, I haven't got really much else to add, so I should put it round to Noel. G8GT's, is that right? Yes, G7JTT, how to think then. Right, test card, move, done.
Yes, evening all. Good to see so many people on, and a few things going on this end. First of all, I think it was mentioned, but Dave and I decided we'd go out portable on Tuesday. You may have seen the picture on forum or on Twitter, but that was it. Anyway, it was a good session, and we're about 40k away, I think, and we worked 5.7 DATV, and the picture I was going to show is just turned upside down. I'm not going to bother to turn it. So yeah, it was was it cold? It it really was chilly. Yeah, and operators. Okay, so in the shack, well, I've managed to do a little bit of work, but I think the big thing this week has been the BATC shop, which has gone absolutely manic after CQTV was released. And I've just checked. We've had over 100 orders this month in April, and it's only the 8th. And it started a little bit before that because we released Nucker, but it's gone manic. I ran out of the A4 paper that produces the address labels. I ran out of Jiffy bags, but I did eventually catch up. But I caught up yesterday, and now I see there was another 12 on the system waiting to be processed. So it really is obviously we're doing something right with Winter Hill and Nooker. So we've run out of the advanced receiver PCBs. Everything else is in stock, apart from the advanced receiver PCB and the LMB power supply PCB. I'm not going to be around next week, so I shall order some on Sunday, and so they'll be back in stock in a week's time. So there we go. Right, what else? Yeah, HV Net was fun, wasn't it? That was great stuff. We actually had the Ryde on GB3 HV has made a significant difference, and we had some new stations. Just give it a bit more audio. Had some new stations come in, but anybody who runs a repeater, I really would persuade them to try and use a Ryde. What's been happening on the bench is two things. One is this, which is the big ports down. That's coming along. I've had a bit of a bumpy road. So that's the 19-inch rack with the 50, 70, 437 and 1296 PAs in there. It's an 8-way RF switch and PTT. But I had a bit of a hiccup. No, I'll do the other construction project. The other construction project that I'm so that is coming along. I mean, the aim is to have that really finished by the contest. The idea is that I won't have so many to cart around because it'll all be self-contained. I may get a hernia lifting it into the car, but that's the plan. The other project is the 47 gigs, which is actually coming along. That's it there. The way it works is, I don't know if I can lift it and you can still see it, but is that still in shot? Yes, right. So not anymore. Oh well. So this is a very expensive box from Mr. Coon. Dish feed comes in here, and that's the mixer here which you use on transmit and receive. The whole idea is that mechanically you turn this amplifier around to use it on transmit and receive. So it's an LNA on transmit and an LNA on receive and an amplifier on transmit. And mechanical stuff is done like that, and the LEDs show whether you're in transmit or receive. So that's coming along. We shall have to see. Right, okay. I think that's possibly it for now. I'll pick it all up on the watch the HP unit below oh, it's noise figure meter. That's the 8970 noise figure meter. Very useful tool. Right, over to Gonzo, and we'll pick it up next time round. G0NZO to take it, G8GT.
Okay. Yeah. 2.5 dB over the beacon. Naughty boy. Right, just mute the audio. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking to myself. Right. Just check that I've got some video. I'm juggling everything on the laptop at the moment. Good. Right, I can see I'm in shot. Okay. No huge amount of radio stuff going on this week. Just trying to think what I've been doing since the last time I transmitted on the net. I've been receive a couple of weeks. I tend to receive most weeks, but that monstrosity. That's a set of Wilkinson splitters, combiners for 2 meters. I bought ages ago. I bought some MRF 186, I think they are, amplifiers kits from eBay. The 2 meter ones, I think I mentioned them a couple of weeks ago. The 2 meter one is it's a reclaimed chip with a new components, and I think it's reclaimed capacitors, but otherwise new PCB, lengths of matching coax, and all the rest of it. In fact, you might recognise it. That's the 77s one. But built the 2 meter one up on this piece on this heat sink. First time transmitted into it about 120 watt out, so I had to back that down a bit quick because I think the transistors are pretty much about 120 watts max. So, and then I sort of got brave and thought, oh, let's order some more. So I've got 4 of them on a big heat sink. I need a way to combine them together, so I knocked that up during the week. I've got the the coax is just 50 ohm coaxes, and I just happen to have the 100 ohm balance resistors, dump resistors. So a bit of messing around trying to get the lengths tuned up. So I think I did them with a 25 ohm resistor on the end. Then onto the spec can with a reflection bridge, and just basically trimmed the coax for best match. Well, looked at where the dip was and kept trimming bits off the coax. And once I got it working, built up a whole panel of it. So that should work. That's a 77s one, and although I redid the length of the output coil, I think the input coil as well, as I saw somebody online mentioned it was necessary, I get about 50 watts out of it max and can't get any better out of it. So not sure what's going on with that, but I've got all the lines cut to make another Wilkinson splitter, 4-into-1 for the 77s one as well. So that should be if I can get the amplifiers to tune up, That should be a 400 watt-ish. That'll be interesting. DATV, back it off a little bit. It should be powerful. But leading on from that, I bought one of those, the Nano VNAs, just on a whim, basically. I wasn't going to mess around with a little 2.8-inch display, so I went for the 4-inch. That's my Samsung Galaxy next to it. So you've got a comparison of the size. It actually makes it usable. Never really played with one. I've seen one used at Paul EYT's when we were testing some kit out. But I'm impressed. I don't know what the CAL's like. I've not checked it against my Siglet yet. But just a pocket-sized bit of kit and the amount of functionality for people who haven't really got the budget for anything bigger, that is astounding. So I'm rather impressed with that as a toy. But I put that on the PA earlier on, actually, to have a look at the input tuning. I suspect that it probably needs a transistor to be on to get with the bias before you actually get the right match, because the match is nothing. It's best I get is about 5 dB return loss on it, which is just horrendous. So don't know, work required. But that's been shelved for years. That 77 amplifier. So I will get on to them. And everybody knows these. After the discussion last week about using these to make a power meter out of, I dug mine out. Turns out mine was a 40 dB. So a quick look on eBay for about £8.50 arrived in the post in about 3 days. So there you go. £8.50 for a directional coupler. That's free. That is free. And I tested it on the Nano VNA, and yeah, it looks absolutely fine. As I say, I've not checked the CAL, but it was on that VNA. It was within about half a dB across the range. So strangely though, it just happened to drop down. I think it was at half a dB above for the coupling, except for about 2.35 to about 2.45, exactly where I wanted to be. It dropped and was about a dB difference. So anyway, that doesn't matter. We cal it, and I don't know about the trying to guess the curve with the diodes and print a meter for it. I think I'll just put ticks. I'll just put a curve and I'll just wind the power up and just draw a line and write the number and do it that way. That's the way I've always done it, old school. So that's just about all I've been doing radio-wise. That and if you remember, I think it was in Scatterpoint years ago. There was a picture of a thing called the Scott Dome or Scott Terminal, which was a battleship, dirty, great big fiberglass dome with about a 1 bit meter dish in there, all steered and stabilised and all the rest of it. And I've had one in the back garden for years and years to do some deep space stuff with. Never got round to that project, so I happened to palm it off on somebody about a year odd ago, and they were going to come and get it. But COVID kicked in, and it's been sat in my garden since. So there's a vehicle going up to Shropshire, so that's going on the back of that. Unfortunately, I've got so much junk to move to get this thing back round the side of the house again. So it's slightly radio related, but not really. So okay, I'll chuck it back round. Who was next? G7 VVF, I think it was. If I can find where the relay control is, I'll drop the PA out of circuit. Oh, quickie, Dave, if you're doing Portsdown software, it's been such a pain this evening. I've been receiving and decoding everybody, spot on, but I have to keep getting up and dropping the FFmpeg off and starting it again. I think you mentioned on the Ryde receiver, it reboots every time it sees a new stream. I don't know if that's even feasible on the ports down, the way the ports down's thrown together, but
What time is it, Auntie Min? What time is it?
Okay, sorry about the noise as I put the microphone on. And fail to mute the receiver. Okay. Yeah, Duncan, it was a good audio, but clearly no video content at all. Right, what I wanted to talk about was this fella. I did in fact, let's go live. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 with a 7-inch screen on. Not many of us have got those. And a Lime SDR. Not many of us have got those either. Michelle mentioned last week when I was showing off my XY display, couldn't we make it into an analyzer? Well, I realised that Phil M0DNY had done some code for an FFT using a Lime SDR. And perhaps that could be butchered into my XY framework. And that's what I've done. It's not finished yet by any means, and that's a bit of a blurred picture of it. But that is the transponder at the moment, which is quite busy. You can see my transmission at the right-hand side, just starting to tail off at the edge of the transponder there, and the other transmissions that are going on. That's from 746 to 750 megs on the output of my output of my LNB. So let me show you. Oh, hang on. I didn't fade it. That's the live transmission there, which is a bit fuzzy, but that's off air, as you can see. Some of the facilities work. I can actually freeze the display. I can put some markers on it and measure stuff. So I can go for a peak marker. Highest is there, and with the frequency. Turn the markers off and back to the main menu. There's some work to be done though. There's no manual entry of frequency and stuff yet. So if we go back to the image, excuse my OBS, which isn't very good. That's the one I want. Fade to that while I put some light on and turn the camera around. You can see that's a screen capture with all the detail on it. I'll just turn this camera around. The other stuff that's been going on this week is a bit of portable. So if I can just... So I went out portable with Noel. That was my end of the snow. There was no snow where I was. That was quite reasonable. And pictures from Noel. That was on, I think it was 5.7 gigs, 333. And people were asking for more aircraft pictures. That was one from about 40 years ago, while I was in training, taken from the back seat of a Hawk, somewhere over Anglesey. Right, back to the camera then. Here we go. Looking at notes, Gareth, that's a really good hot plate. Could do with one of those. Software, hardware, operating balance. Yeah, getting, there's lots of software stuff to do, there's a bit of admin stuff to do, and lots of hardware to make. But it was really good to get out portable, and I would encourage anybody to just give it a try before the contest coming up in June. HDMI socket for Windhill and Ryde. Yes, I've got one of those leads, and I've quite simply clamped it at the rear panel with a big hole in the rear panel for a couple of my rides. John, as far as fans are concerned on the Windhill, I haven't got mine in a box, but I've got one of those little thin fans that Jim has a stock of underneath the Raspberry Pi, and that's all it needs. And yeah, resetting the receiver on Portsdown, that's one of those things on the list, Jules. Ryde doesn't need the reset, or has got the reset built in. It's a little more tricky on the Portsdown to make it happen. So it's on the list, as are many other things, but new toys like, you've got a Nano VNA. Well, I've turned my Portsdown into a spectrum analyzer, which has been very rewarding this week, but that will go in the full build when it's fit for other people to use. Okay, well, we've gone round once and it's already 10 to 9, so I'll put it back around to Martin again for a quick second over from everybody, but really good to do the net again after a year of doing them.
But I'll keep an eye on the have I got any audio? Oh yeah, so I think Duncan is good to go, so you might want to put him after me, but I'll leave that to your discretion. Is that working? Oh yeah, I managed to get the ppm on the screen. That's why I try and I use local radio levels, Noel. So, old-fashioned local radio levels where we used to peak to 6 rather than Radio 3's peak to 4. But there you go. And the Lime, the Portsdown, the Portsdown spectrum analyzer looks great, Dave. Not that I want to start the scope creep already, but you could add VNA facilities to that as well, couldn't you? So. You could have a Nano VNA and tiny spectrum analyzer all in one box. But that looks fantastic. Quickly whiz through my notes. Glad you fixed the amp, Gareth. And top tip, Jim, turn the drive off before the PA. I shall bear that in mind. I don't think I've ever done that the wrong way round yet. That's probably why it's still working. And 14 power meters. Crikey me, that's excellent. Good production line you've got there, and diodes. I did. I had a whole load of Schottky diodes. I was making some balanced mixers for much lower frequencies than these sorts of frequencies, but I matched them all up on with a meter, and they were still different. Rob, I love the way you come on most weeks and say, well, I've not done much this week, and then demonstrate millions of things you've been doing. You know, brilliant things. My winter hill is even less developed than yours, John. So that's as far as I've got with it. I have got the Serets, but I haven't even done a list of things to get from DigiKey or anywhere else yet. So I must get on with that. Glad you got the van brakes sorted. My car failed its MOT on a warning light on the dashboard. Apparently it's not quite sure whether its ABS system's going to work. But as I said to the MOT man, well, I never use the brakes that hard, so why on earth should it fail? But apparently it should. And I wonder if you remember that the UK 101, that was my first proper computer, Rob. It was a kit with a 6502 in it, and I absolutely loved it. Oh, and I see the FFmpeg GUI software is ready, is it? I must look that up. John, yeah, your signal's strong enough to get through my feeble system these days, John. So Mike's getting you at D4 and I'm getting you at D0.1. And I think Nigel on the forum was struggling a bit. Yeah, I'm glad the portable trip went well, Noel and Dave. It was quite funny because Gareth and I were, well, I certainly was keyed up with the aerial pointed your way. And none of us heard anything from either of you all day, but I did manage to get a picture down to Colin, G4EML, of Langstone fame, who'd gone out to see if he could see you or Noel as well. And then I got a DVB-T picture across to Justin, G8YTZ, and some good pictures to Gareth on 2 meters. So that was all on 2 meters, by the way. So that was good, even though I didn't achieve what I'd set out to do. I did get some good results. Jules, your signal was very big and very clean, so that's very good. And I've got one each of those Chinese amps, a 2 meter one and a 70 sems one, and I'll be using the 70 sems one once I get my beam fixed up next week, hopefully. Yeah, more pictures of planes anytime you like, Dave. Right, that's enough from me. So I'll put it round to you, Duncan. And after you, it's Mike, G0MJW. So G7VVF to take it. And the group, G4FKK standing by.
Camera. There we go. Or card, maybe. Working this time. I presume everyone can hear me. I seem to have sound going out, but I have muted it on the TV, so I can't hear it coming back. But I'm sure you'll all shout at me if it's not working. Yeah, I haven't been building much. My advanced receiver is about the same state as yours then, Martin, really. This arrived today, so we're not... I did solve the problem of only being able to order one of the bulbs, one of the power supply boards. There we go. Where's that? By placing a second order for the second one. So there you go, because it would only allow me to order one at a time. So that seemed to work. I've got a tuner, although I have another one already, so I do have 2 to go in there. The plan, once I've built that, will be to put the Ryde up at EN, I think, and see if we can add 70 centimetres to it on a couple of different bit rates, I think. So this week I had the surprise of managing to get into HV, which I never thought I'd do in a million years, but there we go. I did have to run about 60 watts on a 333K and put my aerial all the way up to stand any chance of doing it, you know. So
So there's my amplifier that I was using, but I was driving it to the max, and my shoulders were all over the place, I would say. They're quite bad. But I did buy one of these also last week, which the Tiny SA. Well, for less than 50 quid, really, you know. It's a nice toy to have. I have to say, it gave me quite a nice picture of my well, lack of shoulders, really. When I wasn't overdriving the amplifier on 70 centimetres, it looked quite nice, but looked horrible coming out the other end of the amplifier. It's just as well that GB3LV is not working at the moment, because my beam heading to HV is about the same as to LV, so I was poking 60 watts on 70 sems in the direction of LV. Probably not a good thing to do, but there you go. And being probably way too wide. But having said that, it was an experiment. I doubt if I'll ever attempt to get into HV again. I'm not very high up. I'm in the Lee Valley. It's not called the Lee Valley because it's on a hill, you know. It's very low down. There you go. What else did I have? No, I think that's about it, really. Thanks for letting me in anyhow. I don't know why I didn't have video to start with, but we got it all going in the end. So yeah, maybe I haven't ordered I haven't ordered the rest of the parts yet for the Winter Hill, and I think on DigiKey and on who else was I ordering it from? Farnell. One of the parts, the back order date is the end of the year, so that's not good. But I think RS has it instead. So there we go. So maybe I'll be ordering more stuff from RS. Trouble is RS, everything comes in a pack of 5 minimum, it seems, when you maybe only want 1, you know. So even the power sockets, you know, pack of 5, you know. So which is fine, because I'll probably get around to using them eventually, but it just bumps up the cost, doesn't it, really? So if you've got 5 of everything when you only need 1 of them. I don't think there was anything else, but nice to see you all, and sorry I was a little bit late, but and so I shall pass it around to whoever was next, I think. Yeah. Hang on, where's the list? Mike, G0MJW. So round to you, Mike, G7.
Thank you, Duncan. We've got a picture, sort of. Turn the volume down. Ooh, planes. Yes, aircraft. Okay, so a few things there. To use, but we might sometimes in the future. And this silk screen has been changed to add some labels for which is HDMI 1 and which is HDMI 2, so that Dave doesn't have to explain it to everybody each time. So this is what I have in mind. It's a bit too long, and then it's got a back-to-back panel mount, 3-point at the back, roughly where Rob put his, I think, just above the Pi. and it works fine. I haven't tested it though because I don't really have any intention of using it, but I thought I'd better complete it just to demonstrate it was possible. I use mine remotely, and it works really well remotely. But I just realised actually after I'd fitted that, you can use that as a Pi. So you could browse the internet, or you could edit a Word document, or do a spreadsheet. You could do anything on that receiver if you plug in a keyboard and are running Linux. Anything you do in Linux, as long as the speed is sufficient. It's not that slow, so could be quite a useful little tool, not just dedicated to DATV. There was another thing that Noel's looking for directional couplers. I tend to pick them up at rallies, but you've got to remember that a directional coupler, its frequency range is the range within which its coupling is valid, and as long as it's not too big for the wavelength, you can get away with other out of band, particularly if you go below in frequency. So if you can find one of the 8 to 12 gigahertz ones, which are quite often on eBay, then they'll work. I would have thought they'll work fine on 5.7, so that might be a solution for you, and you can always calibrate them, of course, against open and short circuits and dummy loads. VNA looks nice, Jules. I've got two of those actually. I've got one of the original ones, which I think is one you've got, but with a small screen, and I got one of the newer ones that has an extended frequency range, but again with a small screen. And I'd quite like to get one of the ones with a big screen, but I can't really justify that because that would be too many of them. And I don't really use it all that much actually, apart from for checking filters. So it's great for checking filters if you intend to put a low pass filter on your amplifier. And the PA Duncan was using that he got 60 watts out of. Yeah, I would have thought probably that's almost a square wave coming out. So the shoulders might be 13 dB down, but that's exactly what I use to get into HV, and it works really well. I use it up to about 10 watts before I stop increasing the power, because the shoulders are okay up to about 10 watts, at least they are on mine. But if the antenna's pointing the right way, I can get into HV with about 200 milliwatts, which is absolutely incredible because I could never get into it before. I can't get into it on 2 meters running 50 watts though. So the DATV receiver is considerably more sensitive than the 2 meter receiver, which is an interesting state of affairs. Anyway, not much else to add. So 7.3 to everyone. Been good to be on the net. And yes, yes, let me wide Duncan at 60 watts. One of the issues I had when I was doing DATV or ATV in the 80s up on Winter Hill, because that's where I live, or lived at the time, still do, was that it was a good way to open all repeaters. You could basically transmit a DATV signal, interfere with all the repeaters within about 100 miles south of me. So I had to stop doing that. Right, who's next? G4 E8XAT, G4XAT, over to you guys.
Tuner has jumped unless somebody else is on there on top of me. I can't see myself, and I think I'm on my frequency. That's not what I planned.
No problem.
That one.
No Viper receiver.
Hang on, I'll drop carrier. to receive on our frequency. From G4XAT. Right, I'll try and make this quick. Rob, if you've got a slow puncture and you can't or don't wish to pay the extortionate charge for removal and reseating, I found one of those cans of aerosols. You put about half in a wheel, it'll fix alloy wheel leaks as well. To save you messing about with that, because they reseal it and a month later it starts going flat. Idea, I've used just the same sort of thing in my Ryde and the same short lead. I didn't want to use extra socketry, so I built a little collar, or rather my 3D printer did, and then I put a couple of little tiny self-tappers into the side of the plastic body. But I like the way you cut it all away, Rob, and made a proper job of it. Didn't know they did right-handed and left-handed cables. That's very useful. Nice to see you on BATC on 5.7. But could somebody ask our French software writer if he could fix the overflow bug so that the Pluto will do 5.7 DATV, because I haven't got any transversers, but I have got everything I need to run DATV if the Pluto can generate it. Portable. Well, I didn't go portable. I went as far as the garden and put up a beam. But these are wonderful. They've gone up a bit now, about 50 quid now, but I paid 40 quid for that. And I've got 4 presets in it for 6 meters and 4 and 2 and 70 sems. And it's just so handy to know what you're transmitting or not. You can check your bias, you can check your power levels, drive, the lot. Really recommend that. GB3HV, I'm going to knock it Dolphin, which I was running on 70, and I got terrestrial pictures across to Justin, who's only a few miles away, but we're using collinears each end. That will run quite a lot on DVB-S2, I believe. But could somebody run my locator, Juliet Oscar 01 Alpha India, through some prediction software? Because I can't see on the repeater map. I've got a nasty feeling I'm in a shadow. I can see that Justin isn't, and I suggested he tried it, which worked. But I've got a nasty feeling I'm skulking in a shadow. I can't get much more than about 12 meters on my aerial height either. Okay, MIF 186 amps, yeah, they go like rockets, they do. I can only get 1 watt out of it on 2 meters terrestrial DVB though, before it distorted. And well done, Dave, you found something to do with the Line SDR. That's 2 things I can do with mine. I can transmit DVB in various forms, thanks to your software, and I can soon use it as a spectrum analyzer. Yeah, it's amazing what you've managed to do there. Great stuff. Right, finally, because we all said we'd have short overs, this is a lovely little amplifier. It's about 12 quid. It's a Wi-Fi amp. It's about 1 watt out, and it's got PTT on it. Needs 5 volts only. But I was thinking of running it through the isolator that I took off my PA as some form of filter, because the PA hasn't got anything on its output. So at the moment I'm using an AMSAT 1 watt driver with a SAW filter on it, so that keeps it nice and clean, and to the satellite and back. Okie doke, round to you, Jim, G7NTG. I won't be switching off the amp anymore. I think you can say I learnt my lesson there. Thanks very much. From G4XAT, 7-3 all.
Right, did I manage to change over quick enough? I think so. Right, okay, yeah, I'll keep it quick. Yeah, I was talking about diodes earlier on, that some of them, these Schottky diodes, all the same number, but some of them have got a forward voltage of 1/3 of a volt, and some of them have got a forward voltage of 1/4 of a volt. So not sure what's going on there. And that the ones with 1/4 volt give a lovely linear scale, but run out of them now. Yeah, bought myself a nano VNA, one with the N connectors on. Has proved to be very, very nice. And then the following week I spotted this, and well, my son spotted it and I bid on it, and it was about twice the price of the nano VNA. So cracking bit of kit. So I've now got a nano VNA that I don't really need, so I should probably put it back on eBay. I hope my sound's a bit. I used Dave's advice to go in through SSH into the Portsdown to turn up the volume of the C920 webcam, and if it's gone quiet again, perhaps somebody can say if it's still quiet for me. But it came up really loud then, but so I'm talking it up now. Right, I'm not going to keep it on any longer. I'll say 73s to everyone. So I'm going to put it round to Rob. M0DTS from G7NTG. Get ready on that to stop it jumping as chat.
Right, there we are. Yeah. So, well, that's just a little display of my version of the Winter Hill viewer. So the 4 VLCs in one program. I'll be playing around with a little bit. I haven't done much work on it this week, but it seems to be working okay. Maybe the occasional drop out. I'm not really sure whether there is anything happening. Occasionally I think there are a loss of signal where maybe I don't on another receiver, but the only difference is I've added a tuning page, a tab at the top, which I haven't done anything with yet, and I've got a settings page which you can shut down the Winter Hill from. Well, some people can, some people can't. And it just checks whether it's online. And the only other thing I've added in is the option to turn on hardware video decoding for each of the receivers, so you can specify that. So still working on that in the background, just sort of steady away. Right, where's the mouse? That's on the other screen, that, so it was a little bit tricky to navigate to get that there. No sound? Okay. Yeah, one thing I haven't got yet is a reasonable network analyzer. I've got one of the little nano VNAs, well, the 4 gig one or whatever, but I don't know, I kind of still find that I go back to my the DG8 SAQ VNA unit. That is kind of like a go-to one. It doesn't have the frequency range, but it's got a decent amount of dynamic range on it, and I don't know, you just get a decent sized screen and it's just easier to use, I think. I nearly boxed a laptop up with that and things quite a few years ago, but never ever got around to it. But yeah, I don't know, I still like the DG8 SAQ one. But the problem is now we have to get an old laptop out to use it, because I missed out when they ordered the USB sound interface modules for it, so missed that. But yeah, I don't have a network analyzer. I've got quite a few other things. Hang on, let's just twiddle the microphone around here because you'll lose us otherwise. So there's quite a few of these bits and pieces here came from work when they were down, well not downsizing, but were moving. So there's a HP sweeper at the bottom. That goes up to 20 gig, which was really, really handy. That sort of works. It doesn't sweep anymore. It's a sweeper, but it doesn't sweep. I nearly got it fixed, and then, well, I found the problem anyway. It was that one of the PLLs inside wasn't working, so it was a pre-scaler in the PLL circuit that was dead, basically. Replaced that, but in the process of doing that, I accidentally shorted something out inside and took a few other devices out and things. And at that point, I spent another week fiddling around with it and never got anywhere, so I just left it as it was. It's basically a SIG gen, it works pretty well. So I modified the socket on the back, because as standard they normally come out the back of the socket on those ones to plug into other equipment, I imagine. But there is a hole on the front to put that on. So the spec arm goes to 22-ish, not 24, but still works alright. That was bought as faulty off eBay, that one. Wow, that must be like 17 years ago or something. 16, 17 years? Long time anyway. That one came from work. It sort of has a bit of intermittency on it, but it's a step attenuator. So really handy for doing, if you've got enough isolation on your cables and connections and things. Basically you can wind the attenuation at your signal right the way down for doing receiver tests and stuff. And the same as Noel, got the 8970, which is actually Terry's. He bought a one and then got a faulty one and then got another one, so I got the faulty one and managed to get it working. So that works okay. You have to leave it to warm up a long time to stabilise that thing. So that there, the power meter. So there's a little bit of a story with this one. Hope the audio's loud enough on that. 12 to 40 gigs, not for you. Wow, you never know. You might get into that, mate. Yeah, so the power meter, that came from work, but basically at one time we had electrical fault when we first moved into the new building, and basically it ended up with 415 volts onto it. And took out the main power supply unit inside, so it was basically scrapped off. And I said, oh, I'll have that. So I acquired the meter. I've actually got another one as well. If anyone has a sensor that can use one, I do have another one of these meters if anyone wants one. I think the screen's a bit faded on it, but it does function. But that one's the same. I think it only runs off 12 volts. This one only runs off 12 volts as well, conveniently. But I didn't have any sensors, and there was a guy on eBay selling 3 sensors for 50 quid or something, all faulty. And anyway, basically I had to dismantle where the end connector goes on, take that apart, and there's basically a capacitor on the top, and the epoxy had come away on the capacitor for the DC block on the input. So I managed to epoxy this single layer capacitor back onto the pin and put it all back together, and it's worked perfectly ever since. And it's still pretty much within cal as well, compared to one of the ones at work. So, and that goes, what's that? That's a 20 dBm one. 20 dBm, 10 meg to 18 gig, so that's quite handy. It is diode one though, it's not one of the thermal ones. So. Yeah, could be better. I'm going quite long here. That was kind of an impulse buy, the SIG gen, the ARB, but has come in quite handy. That's another really bad quality SIG gen, so if you do ever see one of them ones kicking around, they're absolute rubbish. Don't bother with it. Doesn't get used. There'll be power supply that's getting on a bit now, and one of the DS 1054 scopes. So that's basically my test kit, plus a few other little bits and pieces. No, unfortunately not, no. That's got microwave bits in there. Microwavey stuff. Right. Yeah, that thing just warbles away to itself for ages. Right, anyway, that's enough for me. Quite a long over that one. So, the only other thing I dug out, well, I didn't dig out, I was looking for something this afternoon and I came across this board. So there may be one or two people on here that recognise it. But that is kind of like the second generation USB to parallel interfaces for the computer when we were playing around with the original digital TV stuff. Probably back in, I don't know when. Was it F1 FAU anywhere? So yeah, I got two of these boards and I never ever got either of them working. Funnily enough, built them all up, but I never managed to get them working properly. So I think by that time I'd help off another station to get something working for my own setup. So there we go, a bit of from the archives there. But yeah, that was the original early stuff. Homebrew digital TV, probably like, yeah, it'd be about 2010 or 11, something like that. There we go. Right, so round to you again, John. And yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, this new record on 122 gigs, if people hadn't seen. 35 kilometres it's up to now from Chris and Roger. I'll have to get onto that one and have a go. Not going to be TV or anything, but still going to be quite good fun. This week will have been quite good with the really low humidity, I imagine. Dew point's been really low, so it's been a good week for that. Right, G7JTT, M0DTS, round to you, and we'll see you all next week. M0DTS.
Right, let's just make sure the order goes down. Right, just reduced down to 1/2 FEC. Hopefully a few more people can see us now. There's a couple of notes I made. For some reason I put down Z80. So I think someone, I can't remember what it was, somebody mentioned about their first ever computers. The first ever one I ever had was a self-build Z80. I'm trying to remember how we got hold of it. Me and my friend Paul, who's G7EWS, it was one of his uncles, I think, worked for a company who got it as either as a sample or well, it's a freebie, whatever it was. I can't remember now. But anyway, we got it. It was the one where you had the hexadecimal keypad on it and some LED or numerical LEDs on there, or numerical LED display. And we spent hours and hours and hours typing hexadecimal into it to get it to count or display a time or whatever it was. But yeah, that was the first ever thing I ever had. Right. I'm not quite sure what goes on, but anyway, now it's got one of these new fancy things in it, an RTX 2060. Certain people's videos, especially with 265, it really doesn't like it. If I use hardware encoding on VLC, it just crashes VLC out, and I haven't really got to the bottom of it. But what it appears to be is people using Plutos. If people are using Limes or other devices, it doesn't seem to whinge so much and crash. But I'm not quite sure what the correlation between the Pluto, because Pluto itself doesn't actually create the 265, So I'm assuming that most people are using the encoder box or something. I don't know, but anyway, that's one of the things I've noticed recently. Other than that, not a lot else really. I was in bed probably half an hour ago, or probably an hour ago actually. So you can probably tell in the voice I'm starting to get very sleepy now. So I shall pass it on round to Noel. Bid you all farewell and stay safe, etc. And we'll look forward to next week. G8GTZ to take it, G7JTT.
G8GTZ. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Right. Couple of things. First of all, for Mike's benefit, there we go. That's, where is it? No, somewhere about there anyway. There it is in blue, Mike. And here's the other board. Oh, look, that's rather cool. Oh, wrong hand. So it's there somewhere. There's HDMI. There. Hold it still, I can't. There you go. Good. Directional couplers, I should have been on the other week because I have actually got 3 others in the drawer. But I remembered I got these, which came off a certain Vivaldi antenna that Dave and I bought at Newark. Unfortunately, Google doesn't recognise the MACOM number, but I think I might give that a try. I think that could be worth a crack. That was that. Yeah, be interested in Gonzo knowing about the 70SEMS amp. Nobody's quoted any eBay numbers or anything, or Martin, I think you said you got one. I wonder where you got them from. Oh yeah, while I'm on this little board, I thought I'd fixed it that you could order more than one. I'll have to have a look again before we get some more in. It's crazy not being able to order more than one of those, so I'll have a look. What is it? What was what? Don't know. And finally, I've got a tale of woe. I bought one of these from DigiKey about 2 weeks ago. Excellent delivery, and came very, very quickly. Unfortunately, it failed on me. Actually failed in the big Portsdown that I showed earlier. So I sent an email to DigiKey, and they replied and said, no problem, we don't require the old one back. We'll put a new one in the post to you. This was, I emailed them on Tuesday, I think. And I've had notification that a new one will be arriving tomorrow. Now that's what I call exceptional service, particularly from the States. So well chuffed with that. But yes, Martin or Gonzo, be interested in that 70SEMS amp you guys were talking about. And what was what? The MACOM, it's either a 96341, but that doesn't seem to throw it up, or it's a CH250008-17S. And you probably didn't get that. It's a 17.5 dB. It's obviously was very specifically designed for the Vivaldi that came back. And we know they came off military aircraft, so I don't think I can. No. Right, so just finally for Mike, CH25-0008-17S brackets A. There we go. Good night to everybody. Thanks for the fun, and I'll pass it round to whoever takes it next, because I can't remember who it was. I'll have a look, and thanks for the eBay item number there. Right, whoever takes it next, can't remember who it was, and it's miles away, so whoever wants to pick it up next.
G8GTZ, G8GKQ. Right, I did turn the audio down by 5 dB as a compromise on the last over. I don't know whether hopefully that stops people being deafened. Yes, once we get an audio level indicator on Ryde, that will be really useful for us all, I think. Yeah, this Lime SDR spectrum analyzer won't turn into a vector network analyzer anytime soon, that's for sure. I really want to finish that as an analyzer properly. I'd actually also like to get it going as a Pluto. The great application for it is when you're out portable, is spotting interference or signals when you're out portable. That's the real application for it. So that's why it's getting built into the ports down, so that you don't have to take any more kit out portable. I mean, Noel and I only did 2.5 bands, 146 and 5760 on Tuesday, and I seem to take vast amount of stuff out. Like him, I'm going to put all my 2 meter gear in one box shortly, because at the moment it's 4 boxes, would you believe? Okay, well, some really interesting stuff. Thanks all for coming on, and look forward to seeing you all next week. So GHGKQ closing the BATC net and leaving the frequency clear for anybody else. G8GKQ. Good night all.